Welcome everyone, either here or on Facebook or anyone who's going to watch this later from a recording. Welcome to this very special Abolition 2000 event, the launch of Youth Fusion Abolition 2000 Youth Network. Welcome, massive welcome to our speakers and panelists. We're very, very happy and very glad that you're all here with us. My name is Vanda. I'm one of the coordinators of the network. I'm also the vice chair of Prague Vision Institute for Sustainable Security and director of the program on gender, peace and security at Parliamentarians for Nuclear Non-Proliferation and Disarmament. And my job and task today will be mainly force us to stay on time. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Tony, who will welcome you all on behalf of the Abolition 2000. So Tony, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vanda. Dear anti-nuclear friends and colleagues, it's with great pleasure that I welcome you all on behalf of the Coordinating Committee of Abolition 2000 to the launch of Youth Fusion, the new name for the Abolition 2000 youth group. As someone in their early 50s, I cannot tell you how pleased I am to see it when young people appear with the drive, motivation, and energy to take the baton from the older generation in the struggle to push for meaningful change. Philosophers such as Marx have said that the motor of history is the struggle between classes, and one could certainly make that argument today if we redefine the upper class as the elite 1% of society that controls the same amount of wealth as the bottom 99%. However, others, such as the Spaniard Jose Ortega y Gasset, have proposed that the true driver of history is the struggle between generations. And I think it's interesting to reflect on this idea in the context of this launch of Youth Fusion. Every generation has its different social and cultural landscapes into which it is born. The landscape of the generation born in the late 1930s was characterized by the horror of totalitarianism and war. The following generation was born into a hopeful post-war landscape, rebuilding both nations and societies. The generation of the 70s and 80s is marked by growing globalization and the fear of nuclear holocaust, which ended with the fall of the Berlin Wall. The subsequent generation is marked by increasingly sophisticated technology and the appearance of the internet. And the current generation is marked by growing environmental concerns and fear for the survival of the planet. These landscapes into which human beings are born mark our beliefs and our values. And it is this difference in beliefs and values which is at the source of this generational struggle. The beliefs and values of the current generation in power are different to those of the generation that is fighting to come into power. When power passes from one generation to the next, change can be rapid. This is clearly illustrated by the way that moves to legalize same-sex marriage are appearing all over the world. It is obvious to anyone who pays any attention that the entire social and cultural landscape of today is unfit for purpose. If that purpose is to provide a dignified life for human beings in harmony with the natural environment. The economic system doesn't work, military spending is at stratospheric levels, the planet is unable to cope with pandemics, women struggle for their rights even in the most progressive societies. The United Nations needs refounding in order to eliminate the hegemony of the nuclear powers. Traditional views of gender and sexuality are being questioned. Biodiversity is being destroyed, and of course, we are watching an environmental and climate catastrophe unfolding in real time before our very eyes. This is increasingly clear to the youth of today and has led to the appearance of a new sensibility among young people. And this, coupled with the interconnectedness of the world through technology, allows for events like this one to occur. This sensibility is characterized by acceptance of difference, of concern for the planet, of unquestioned equality of all human beings, and I hope a tendency towards seeking non-violent resolutions to conflicts. We are so proud that the young people in our webinar represent this new sensibility and have the motivation to fight for one aspect of a better world that most concerns Abolition 2000, namely the elimination of nuclear weapons and nuclear energy. But we also know that we cannot treat youth as one monolithic block of thought and opinion. There will even be young people out there who can be persuaded of the benefit of nuclear weapons. The tendency of the generation in power is to hold a patronizing regard towards youth. Thus, it is important in Abolition 2000 to have spaces in which young people can work on shaping the image of the world that they want to live in and for those of us in power to ensure that their voices are heard in all areas of our activity. And in return, it is great to see that Youth Fusion are taking seriously the topic of intergenerational dialogue, because although the landscapes of our birth are different, we in the older generation surely have learned a thing or two over the years that can be helpful. So without further ado, I will hand you back to Vanda, who is facilitating this presentation. But before that, I would like to invite everyone who can to give a donation to Abolition 2000. The website where you can do that, I will just plug in the chat. Here we are, chat to everyone. With your donations, we will have more capacity to organize more events such as these and build our network and reach out to people struggling in different fields of human progress, because it is in our convergence that we will find our strength and create the new paradigms for a society in which nuclear weapons are not only obsolete, but also consigned to the dustbin of human prehistory. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Tony, for being here with us today. I know it's very early for you where you are, but thank you also to the whole Abolition 2000 as the youth working group. We truly appreciate your support throughout the last years as well. So we're really glad that this cooperation has been working out so well. So Youth Fusion is a global network. And just today, we have speakers from Kazakhstan, Philippines, Solomon Islands, Cameroon, Germany. Our coordinators that are here today are from France, the Czech Republic, again, Kazakhstan, South Africa, Denmark, really from all over the world. So to get the conversation started, I'd like to invite all the attendees to tell us in the chat where you're from. Just drop in the country so we know where we're being live streamed to. And while you're doing that, Marjan will tell you about the youth network, how it started, and what we're trying to do. Marjan's the coordinator of the network, and thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vanda, and hello to everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the Youth Network of Abolition 2000, to the Youth Fusion. Today we are launching our website and introducing you a new name. And let me give you some information about the Youth Network and give you some sort of flashback. So the Youth Network was founded in 2017, almost 3 or 4 years ago. It was founded in Prague in Czech Republic, taking into account the importance of engaging young people in the topic of nuclear disarmament, peace, and sustainable development goals, as well as considering the importance of role of young people in international security and peace, being highlighted by the United Nations resolutions and many other important documents, the Youth Network was established. During the past 3 years, there have been various events organized by the Youth Network, and I would like to highlight some of them given the short time that we have. But I will definitely encourage you to welcome our new website to check out more on our previous events, initiatives, partner organizations, and etc. So our first main event took place in 2017 in Prague, in Czech Republic. It was International Youth Conference, which was quite successful. We had a youth appeal as an outcome of this event. We also visited Atom Museum, which is located outside of Prague in 1 hour distance, I believe. Then we have also organized the movie screenings of the documentaries in several European countries and capitals, as well as in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. We have also displayed the 3D nuke arts missile, also in European capitals and countries. and we would like to bring this to more public as well. We have initiated since the last year the International Youth Delegation, which we sent to the Non-Proliferation Treaty Review conferences to take part there and not only participate, but also organize side events in cooperation with other youth organizations or in general partner organizations. And since this year, there have been changes with the pandemic. We have turned our events into online mode, and we have organized a series of webinars and highlighting the connection of nuclear disarmament, peace, and sustainable development goals, as well as climate and the pandemic topic. And today we are highlighting the special day, which is the United Nations Day of Human Rights. And we believe that present and future generations have a right to live in a nuclear weapon-free world. And with our website being launched on this special day, it can be found as symbolic as well. And we believe that with the launch of this website, we can outreach to more young people, we can demonstrate our projects and events, and we can also provide a platform for networking and cooperation between young people, youth-led organizations, initiatives. And one of our main special features is the intergenerational dialogue and cooperation. Having said that, we are very grateful to the Abolition 2000 Coordinating Committee for their support. And I also would like to mention and give special thanks to the team behind this event and behind the Youth Fusion, now called team, for organizing this webinar and further on introducing you to our programs, to our current and future events. And we believe that with this new name, we are bringing a new spirit into the movement. And we would like to see more young people being educated, informed, engaged, and connected through our platform. So thank you for your information and look forward to the continuation of the event.
Thank you, Marjan. So you're probably getting a sense of what we're trying to do here. And I like to say that Youth Fusion, or Abolition 2000 Youth Network, we're really good at connecting the dots. So on that note, today we'll hear from wonderful young students, professionals, or activists, all coming from different backgrounds with slightly different experience in different countries. But they all agree on the fact that our world would be a better place, a much better place without nuclear weapons in it. And we'll start strong. Our first speaker is coming from a country that had nuclear weapons and gave them away, Kazakhstan. Nuriya is a high school student, dabbling as a youth activist. She is an amazing storyteller, an artist, and a nuclear disarmament promoter, as she is one of the organizers and an ambassador of the Youth Peace Week Kazakhstan. And I personally cannot hear from her. So Nuriya, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vanda. But first, I'll share my screen. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Can you see it? Okay,
Yes, it's
so I'll start. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Nuriya. I'm from Kazakhstan. Nice to meet you all. First of all, I want to ask you a question. What is the scariest horror story you've ever heard of? And you can type your answer in the chat box if you wish. For me, the spookiest story is that of Semipalatinsk, the Soviet Union's primary nuclear weapons testing venue. The Semipalatinsk is a land in Kazakhstan which illustrates the national tragedy as 340 underground and 116 atmospheric explosions were conducted there. Although it has been decades since the last testing, Kazakhstani people still suffer from the irradiation. And to assist those treated badly, I started my activism. I took initiative in organizing Youth Peace Week in my school. Briefly, Youth Peace Week is a movement aiming to promote peace among adolescents throughout the world. During Peace Week, I and my team organized several events. First of all, we showed a film about the importance of abolishing nuclear weapons to around 300 students. Secondly, online conference with Christopher, who is a co-founder of Nuclear Free Schools. And by the way, Christopher is going to be one of the panelists on the Youth Fusion launch event session 2 tomorrow. So make sure to not miss it out. Thirdly, we gathered 7th to 10th graders to organize a group work with them with activities such as collaborative writing, brainstorming, Kahoot, presenting ideas, etc. And fourthly, we organized the essay writing contest on different topics concerning peace. Everything went perfectly, but a sudden outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic sure got all of us badly. For now, the best thing we can do is to stay at home to prevent the further spread of the disease. However, who said that we can't do anything in the lockdown to tackle some global issues? Um, I myself see this quarantine more like an opportunity to prepare many projects online, which was exactly what I did. I coordinated Kazakhstani adolescents to record a video of themselves expressing their thoughts on climate change, nuclear weapons, and peace in general for the Abolition 2000 project, which was absolutely amazing. I believe you can watch the videos on the YouTube and get inspired by simply looking at these conscious youth all over the world. Secondly, TEDx events. Being a president of Astana's TEDx Youth Club, I organized 2 online licensed events, meaning that you can access them all on the TED.com website. The first event was held on May 19th and was entirely focused on social issues like sexism, racism, etc. And the second event was already international as we invited speakers from India and Malaysia to speak on the topic of sustainable development. Thirdly, Step to the Future, online summer program for young girls living in suburbs. STTF's main aim was to help eliminate gender discrimination and help young girls build a bright future for themselves. Our team reviewed more than 300 applications from girls all over CIS countries, including Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Russia, and Ukraine. As a part of the STTF's tentative schedule, our participants were required to create a project that would solve any social issue in their hometowns. I mentored a group of girls from Kyrgyzstan with their project Yedulay that helps Kyrgyzstani orphan children get into their dream universities. And fourthly, Youth Peace Week 2020. Though I sincerely hope that the national lockdown would come to its end by the time I was planning to hold Youth Peace Week again, Kazakhstani schools were still working remotely, so a fully remote program was composed. This year, we hosted a webinar with 2 inspiring individuals, Ray Kwon and Jennifer. We also kept the tradition of running the essay writing contest. And furthermore, we organized a TEDx event on the topic of threats to international peace and security. Right now, I would like to bring attention to the excerpt of one work from the essay contest, which was a response to the if you had a chance to redirect the nuclear weapons global budget, where or in what would you invest? And Laila Jangirkhanova from 10th grade responds like this. Please take your time to read what she has written. I particularly love this part. We will be able to live without fear of tomorrow, in peace with society and with ourselves, where everyone can take responsibility for their actions and contribute to the improvement of the world. The main thing is to get rid of the nuclear weapons as quickly as possible. What an amazing thought Layla expressed. I am proud of even going to the same school as this aspiring individual. When reading the essays, when working with an amazing team on organizing TEDx events and Youth Peace Week, when mentoring girls from the summer program, when coordinating Kazakhstani adolescents in Abolition 2000 YouTube project, I felt proud. The youth is leading our way to the brightest future, brighter than anyone could have ever imagined. Maybe these students also grew up hearing a spooky story of Semipalatinsk. Maybe some of them were born near that land. Maybe others researched the Semipalatinsk tragedy on their own. The ways in which they developed the awoken consciousness in the matter of such a global issue may vary, but the result is truly what matters. They've become ready to tackle the problem of nuclear weapons. And this applies not only to youth in my school or even Kazakhstan, but to every part of the world. I love the metaphor of the strongest flowers that have grown in the cracked pavement. We must use our mistakes made in the past to shape our minds the way the world needs it. And no one, not a single thing, not even a pandemic, define our potential and what we can accomplish. It is only our consciousness, our own limits that prevent us from reaching certain heights. And I believe that we can make a change if we believe in it all together. So I'm finished. Thank you all for the attention. I'd love to answer the questions if you have any. So thank you one more time.
Thank you so much, Nuriya. You were amazing as always. Everyone being active in the chat, thank you so much for that. If you have any links that you'd like to share, anything that you'd like to notice, just drop it in the chat. However, if you have any questions specifically for our speakers or our panelists, please put them in the Q&A where all the speakers can see them, can address them, and then we can bring them out to the question and answer session. So our second speaker, well, just to let you know, this is a very gender and topic balanced event. Our next speaker is Solomon from the Solomon Islands in the Pacific. Will bring the topic of climate and the environment into the debate, which is absolutely fantastic because at Youth Fusion, we try to highlight how interlinked these issues are with peace and how we have to educate ourselves on both in order to accomplish a safer and more sustainable planet. Solomon is with the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change, the World's Youth for Climate Justice. So we're very excited. And yeah, Solomon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vanda. And thank you, Nuriya, for that very, very inspiring presentation of your work. We will be very happy to really and excited to follow up on your work and see what the amazing work that you're doing in Kazakhstan and beyond. Thank you very much. All right. So, and also thank you to the organizers of Youth Fusion and the participants for giving me this opportunity to share with you all my personal stories from the South Pacific. To begin with, I would start my story from a memory from childhood growing up in Honiara, Solomon Islands. This is where what I believe is my first introduction to activism. I can vividly recall the day I was in prep school and where the teacher announced that we'll be having this exciting class trip to go see this very unique boat just docked at the Capital Harbor. This was in the late 90s. And walking with curiosity and excitement on the harbor, I can see a table set in front of the boat, and there were very odd-looking people welcoming the public, encouraging them to come and listen to them and ring around the table to write on the piece of paper there. I can see them, I can hear them shouting and preaching and encouraging people, which I obviously had no idea because I was a toddler, almost growing out of that toddler phase. But one thing that really caught my attention was there's a unique painting on the side of the ship, which is of a dove flying over a rainbow. I just, from then on, I called the boat the Rainbow Boat. But it was until when I was doing my degree studies at the University of South Pacific that I later came on to understand that and know that the ship was the Greenpeace flagship Rainbow Warrior, which was at that time on its way, docking through Solomon Islands and traveling throughout the Pacific to campaign and collect support against the shipments of radioactive nuclear waste that is passing through the Pacific Ocean from Japan to France, I believe. And it is through my studies that later on in university, I revealed the horrors and the deep pains of the injustices done to the people of the Pacific on the nuclear testing, which to this day, and or most obviously, as Nuriya has mentioned, far into the future, people will still be suffering the consequences of its impacts. I was really deeply frustrated about how unfairly the people of the Pacific, our people of the Pacific, have been treated. And I really concur with Tony on the landscape part, with each generation dwelling in that the landscape that I grew in is not of peace. Fairly, it was peaceful, but growing up, we went through ethnic tensions and conflicts. We are seeing the climate crisis and ecological collapse unraveling before our eyes. It is really, truly a frightening scene, and I hope that we can address this before it becomes too horrific, that it's beyond irreparable. So my decision to act just came in actually last year, when myself and 26 other law students from the University of South Pacific doing a course on international environmental law, we decided that, look, we come from the same background from the Pacific. We have the similar experiences of climate change, and of course, aftermath of colonialism, and of course, colonialism, how it's impacting our societies. And we're really deeply frustrated of how it continues to do so, even colonialism is for the past now, but still we're seeing new ways it's manifested. And one of the ways it's manifesting is through the climate crisis of the wantonly and inconsiderate burning and consumption of fossil fuel that really burns up, destroys our ozone layer, and affects, causes anthropogenic changes to our climate system, which causes so much negative impacts on the ground, especially with us frontline communities feeling the full brunt of it. So on that note, we decided, like, look, we'll be always complaining about this, but why don't we take another approach by advocating for solutions? We think we can do these things. It's not, regardless of our size in the Pacific, we can make a positive change in the world. And I think we can use it. We can draw from our academic backgrounds to find out these solutions to push forward the change that we want to see. And after lengthy and thorough research, we have decided that we have concluded an agreement that law can be an effective vehicle to drive change, and it really can help to break the political impasse we've been tirelessly seeing on the climate debate. We concluded that the solution we decided to take was to take climate change and human rights to the International Court of Justice, which is also known as the world's highest court, seeking an advisory opinion. I know it might sound technical for the others, so people who do not have academic background or do not understand this route. It simply is seeking clarity from the International Court of Justice, which is the judicial and primary organ of the United Nations, to give clarity on states' responsibility on the citizens to protect the rights of for the citizens, especially young people, from the adverse effects of climate change. Which, of course, I've later on also come to realization that it took me really by surprise that this was the same route that Pacific Island countries and other countries around the world took in the early 90s on the illegality of nuclear weapons. really inspiring people, especially from the civil society. And we're very fortunate to have one of them here, who is Alan Ware, who have really campaigned at the back of their bone and strength of their and their impressive will to really carry forth the campaign and manage to secure this successfully at the Court of Justice. And since then, since 2019 in June, we have campaigned and saw great support from our leaders. The Pacific Civil Society was amazing, but even though all of that support, in spite of the positivity of these achievements and momentum we're building, like all advisory opinions put before the United Nations General Assembly route, it must go through a simple majority vote from United Nations member states. So this required the majority votes of UN member states. Hence, we decided that from the Pacific alone cannot do this. We required support from other youths around the world who are also campaigning on the similar campaign. So we got to realize, it just came also with this, it's a learning process, but also a discovery process to see that youth around the world are also interested on this idea, but either they have have little support on their individual campaign, or they have yet to take action. So we connected, we reached out, and we tried to build this connection of like-minded youth who share the same vision and are also campaigning in their respective region and nation. And we brought them together, and we connected, and we decided to form the World's Youth for Climate Justice, which is the umbrella network for the global youth campaign on the ICJAO for climate change. Definitely COVID-19 has really been the spanner in the wheel for us in our campaign. But on the other side of the coin, for social justice movements, especially as well as the peace movements, COVID-19 actually taught us a lot. On one side, the pandemic really forced the world to think and remind us of what is the true priorities and what is truly important in our lives as human beings on this planet. It also revealed to us the gravity of the climate crisis in this new perspective and experiences that has been unrevealing and being showcasing to us each day. But it also made us really worried when it's revealing the glimpse of what a 21st century societal tipping point would look like. And this is, of course, a dire concern that hence it affects us, within the group, we speak about this all the time. It really affects us mentally to really think that what the future will unfold in a negative way or the worst way as possible, and how it will be impacting the futures of young people, especially. Nevertheless, I am more hopeful than ever when I see the spike of activism all throughout the world and the length that youth activists in particular are willing to go to show how serious they are on the climate crisis. And of course, the most recent achievement would be the landmark event on the mock COP26, where youth from all over the world hosted and organized themselves the youth COP in lieu of the postponed COP26, which is quite impressive in my opinion. On the youth campaign on the ICJAO since June 2020, we understand COVID-19, but also this also revealed to us the connectivity, how connected we are in this world due to, of course, Zoom and other platforms that we can liaise on. So we've been planning, organizing, strategizing for 2021, because it's not point crying over spilled milk here. We just have to decide. We just have to swallow the hiatus that's caused by the COVID-19 and plan further for the next campaign next year. So in spite of the various setbacks due to COVID-19, we are hopeful that we are very hopeful as well, because as our foremothers and fathers who have extensively campaigned without internet and present day technology to communicate via expensive fax machines and of course slow as well, to seek justice against the nuclear weapons and the injustices at the ICJ and win, I believe we can also do for climate at the ICJ with this incredible energy and connectivity through technology and the support we have. Just to be clear, I speak for the team that we do not believe that the ICJ will be the magic bullet that will address the climate crisis, but we truly believe that it can be the catalyzer for the greater ambitious actions follow towards climate justice. And as stubborn optimists as we are, as always, we will fight. Our will to fight is motivated by the concrete and ambitious campaign, the campaign of the ICJO in itself. Ambition is definitely the essential ingredient if we are to win this climate crisis fight. I see that nuclear and fossil fuel energy, and I agree with a lot of you that nuclear and fossil energy have brought to the world unquantified losses, pain and suffering, even death, war, inequality. It is definitely the engine that drives the arrogant greed of humanity, benefiting only the few at the expense of the many. It definitely has no future. It has no place in the future, and it must be made obsolete. To this day, to the viewers and the participants of this event, I'm telling you all, we're definitely running out of time because I want you all to believe me that the climate crisis here, especially in the Pacific Islands in the front line, is worsening every day to a great extent now. And I believe elsewhere in the world as well. And is it not time that we take climate change to the world's highest court to hear what they have to say on the world's biggest problem? Thank you, and thank you to Mas for listening to the voice of the Pacific.
Thank you so much, Solomon. And I think it was a great story for us to hear, just the message that if you do not like the situation that you're in, educate yourself on the topic and then go out and try to change that. So thank you, Solomon, for presenting us with a good story of how to go about that. I do have a question for Nuriya first, if you're still here. So if you had to give an advice to a young student, a young girl who is interested in this issue, has maybe the same fears as you do, has heard the same stories, but feels very undereducated on this issue. It's not really mentioned in schools and her curriculums that much. So she wants to get involved, but doesn't really know how. What would you tell her?
That is actually a really nice question. I think I've met plenty of girls like you described on the summer program called Step to the Future, which I talked about briefly during my presentation, because some of them were born near that land, and that's why I mentioned it in the end. Some of them didn't know that the problem of nuclear weapons exists, and I was actually one of the lecturers on one day, and I described them the whole issue, and another person from the organization crew also made the subtitles on Kazakh so everyone could understand me, and they were all so inspired and they wanted to contribute to the organization of Youth Peace Week or just engage themselves with the topic of nuclear weapons. And that is why I'm planning to organize Youth Peace Week in other cities of Kazakhstan or maybe even other countries which were also participating in the summer program. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'd like to tell them more about it and just to encourage them to never stop researching the question they are interested in, and maybe just provide them with some materials where they can look at it, where they can um, maybe read more about it and how they can influence others the way I did to them. I hope that this answers your question.
Yes, wonderfully. Thank you so much, Nuriya, and thank you for being here with us. I know you'll have to leave soon because of you have an exam. So thank you so much for taking the time away from studying. As part of this short Q&A, we also have a quick question for Solomon. So the question goes, have any countries come forward yet with the support for a UN resolution to take the climate issue to the International Court of Justice? And a quick follow-up to that could also be, how could, again, young people support this and get involved in this potential initiative?
Well, thank you very much, Vanda, and whoever is asking that question. It's a very good question. And of course, we have been bombarded by this question ever since we started the campaign. To answer that briefly, I would say from the Pacific Front, last year in our campaigns, we put forward the proposal to the Pacific Island Forum, which is just equivalent to, you can say, the EU, European Union, or other coalition of governments around the world, in which they noted down in the communique that they are in principle agreed to the ICJ-AO, but they're still waiting for the precise legal question that will be drafted by the diplomats and experts. So, which is we are still waiting for the Vanuatu government to really release this question, and we're still waiting on that. Hopefully, it will be released soon, the official legal question, which will of course encourage discussions and increase dialogue about discussion of whether states would be inclined or not to support or not to support this question and put before and help to support a resolution to be put before the UNGA. To answer the second question, which is how do you get involved? At the moment, we're still drafting a campaign plan as a whole of how we're going to go to 2021. But still, those who are really interested to be involved, please drop us an email on our website or email that we'll be providing in the group. I will provide here. So please reach out, and we'll see how we can able to support and help you open up entry points of support. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So this concludes the first round of our panelists. Thank you again, Nuriya and Solomon. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have you. I love hearing about all these stories, and I'm sure our listeners do too. So thank you so much again. And to all our attendees, if you still have any questions, just drop them in the Q&A, and we can get them answered. So, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. We all came here today to not only listen to these amazing and inspirational stories, we also came here to see our new website and hear about the new programs that we've worked on. We've worked on this for the last couple of months. We poured our hearts in this, and we're beyond excited to show everything to you. And Arthur will do the honors.
Thank you, Vanda. So hello, everyone. So yeah, like as Vanda said, we've been working on this for some time, and so here it is, the new fresh coat of paint on the Youth Fusion, the Abolition 2000 Youth Network. So we've kept as you can see, the traditional bomb explosion that merged into a tree. I think the symbolic behind the logo was really something striking that we wanted to preserve. So we have kept this as our logo, but just give it a fresh new coat of paint. And I think this is also an opportunity for me to talk about that. So it is a fresh coat of paint, but not just only that. And we'll get into the content a bit later, but we have worked into this to give it a fresh breath of air and sort of rekindle the youth youth engagement that many would argue have been going down throughout COVID, and it's been harder and harder to reach people. So we hopefully we hope that that this is the way to go about it, and to bring new experience, a very nice designed website. Yeah, so I'm going to run you briefly through some of the layout of the website. So we have here the homepage. If you scroll down, we have a brief run through of the articles and the news. Here is the join part. Michaela will talk a bit later about this, but we have an entire setup for joining. And then a bit on the featured projects, because again, we also want to keep that strong connection to what has been done in the past, and inspire both our members, but also keep in mind that those are projects that are not necessarily one-time projects. So I think it's also nice to be able to read about what we've done in the past. And then here are all the access to the social media. So the Facebook, the Twitter, here is our Instagram, and the YouTube channel, which doesn't have content on it yet, but we'll get to it. And then finally, I think maybe the most important tab is all the way up, we have the resource tab. which really gathers all of the content that we're trying to put. And this really goes back to both what Solomon and Nuriya said. It is we have to adapt, and we have to make do with the current situation. So we thought this is also the best opportunity for us to be able to carry out our task and our main purpose, which is, of course, to educate, inform, engage, and connect. So we'll have articles, podcasts, webinars, videos, documents. There's a list of the youth speakers that we have. So that's a constantly expanding list of youth partners, and then finally the newsletter. So yeah, and we'll go a bit more in depth in the content a bit later, but I'm gonna give it back to Vanda.
Thank you, Arthur. So someone from the organizers, please put the link to the websites into the chat so everyone can open it on their laptops, on their phones, and just like read through it. We want to hear some feedback also in the chats of what you think, how, if you see any room for improvements, or what would you like to see on that website in the future, and so on. Again, we've really worked hard on this, and we really want to make sure that it's accessible, it's easy to use, and that everyone who's on the page has a blast and can learn a lot. And this brings us to the second part of our event today, and our next speaker, next panelist. Divina Maloum is a name that hardly needs an introduction. Divina is the founder of Children for Peace and co-winner of the 2019 International Children's Peace Prize. Her work inspires not only me, but countless girls in Africa and around the globe. And it is an absolute honor to have her here with us. So Divina, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Vanda. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Vanda. Hi, everyone. My name is Divina Maloum. I'm the laureate of the International Children's Peace Prize 2019 and the coordinator of Children for Peace. I first would like to thank the Almighty God who gave me the opportunity to participate as a speaker in this exceptional webinar. I'm going to first present to you the working context of Children for Peace. You know, the geographical position of the country at the crossroads of the geographical areas of Central Africa and West Africa and the porosity of its borders predisposes Cameroon to suffer the contingencies linked to the cross-border transmission of insecurity from
The sound is terrible. I can't understand anything, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Divina, could you move a bit closer to your microphone? We're having a bit of a struggle to hear you. Thank you. Oh, that'll be much better. No, that made it worse somehow.
Is it okay?
There is some feedback, but the sound is better. Give it a try. Worst case scenario, we'll interrupt you again.
Okay. So as I was saying, the geographical position of the country at the crossroads of the geographical areas of Central Africa and West Africa and the porosity of its borders predisposes Cameroon to suffer the contingencies linked to the cross-border transmission of insecurity from other countries of the two sub-regions. So the opening of the country on the sea and the porosity of its borders makes it a heap of maritime piracy. So cross-border crime and banditry, that is attack on mines or all installations, and multiform smuggling, that is trafficking in human beings, drug trafficking, small arms, and illegal immigration. So since a couple of years, Cameroon is experiencing unprecedented security crisis. The country is in the grip of multiple conflicts. So after the first attack in 2012 in the east of the country by the Seleka and anti-Balaka groups from the Central African crisis, the northern part of the country knew in 2014 its first attack by the terrorist group Boko Haram. And in 2016 began the Abolition crisis, specifically in the northwest and southwest of Cameroon, through a battle launched by separatist rebels for their own state, asking for the separation of the country. And more recently, the attack on a school in Kumba in the Cameroon English-speaking regions, where terrorists slit the throats of students aged from 10 to 13 years in classrooms with knives and cutlasses. So, to contribute to the mitigation of this issue described above, the mainstream children in the peace building process in order to raise up their voices against the violation they are subjected. I have created an organization called Children for Peace. So, Children for Peace is a children and girl-led movement working across Cameroon and Central Africa in complex cultural system for children's rights, gender equity, and peace building. So, the organization has been created in 2015 after a trip made in the north of Cameroon where I witnessed the impact of Boko Haram on children and particularly the girls. So far, Children for Peace has designed and distributed more than 3,000 cartoons, using them as the basis of meaningful conversations during awareness, advocacy, and capacity building activities in Quranic schools, markets, churches in the capital, and when meeting community leaders. So we visited street children, children offered by conflict, and unprivileged children from rural areas in the north. So altogether, we have taught over 25,000 children, so far explaining them that they can be gender equality, say no to violence, build a lasting peace. To date, over 1,200 children have been fruitfully engaged in peace building and gender equality through local and nationwide activities and through our 50 children peace clubs led by girls in most cases and communities. So children and girls are increasingly occupying public spaces in many communities and are working jointly with local authorities to solve conflicts. So in the frame of our activity for peace building in the north of Cameroon, one day I met a girl called Ismaila. She was 12 years old. She grew in a poor family where her parents were unable to send her to school. So upon going to fetch water, she was raped by a group of boys that totally destroyed her life, and she started crying. When she arrived home, she told her parents about the sad event, but unfortunately, her parents reacted negatively and decided to send her to marriage with a farmer of 55 years old. She cried a lot, and finally, she got married to that man. So she was treated as a slave, used as a sex toy, and she was maltreated by other wives of the men. So during one of my awareness campaign, I met her crying and approached her to ask her the reason for her sadness. She never wanted to tell me, but she finally told me. I tried to console her, telling her the right she has, encouraging her to stand up for peace in order to be the voice of the voiceless girls in her community. Thanks to our multiple efforts aiming at empowering her, she decided to join the movement Children for Peace. And actually now she's a focal point in our peace club, teaching children on the values of love, peace, and prayers. So in conclusion, I would like to say my little experience show me many people pronounces the word peace. Many want to see it happening in their communities, but only few understands the meaning of these words. Some will say peace is something about tranquility and non-violence. Yes, it is, but I think peace is far more than just a trust. Peace is the desire of every beating heart, the hope of every nation, the promise of every politician, the pulse of every religious tradition, and the goal of every prayer. So I encourage youth not to complain on what the government is doing for change or not. If you want to see change in your community, you must be the change you want to see, because change is a change unto the change is the changer. I would have also stood quiet waiting for somebody to resolve this problem, but I decided to act as a hero. Being a hero is not just saving people, but bringing a solution to a particular problem. So I will conclude by saying that when the power of love shall be greater than the love of power, man shall have another name, which is God. So thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Divina, so much for sharing that story with us. That's been very, very, very touching. I guess the question for you would be, at least for me, if you have been in the field for a while and you have been helping so many children. So I would like to ask whether you see some progress from the past few years, if the situation is getting better, at least in your community. And yeah, just thank you.
So I will say that in my community, there's a high rate of early marriages. So last year it was 80%, and actually it is already 50% of young girls involved in early marriages. And thanks to the peace clubs we have created, my mate and I, our focal points, the increasing number of children that are being involved in the process of peace building. So yeah, I can say it is a very great activity we are making, and that there is a change.
Thank you. And one last question to you. Could you maybe put in the chat or mention here? I know that you're running a really good Instagram page when you're sharing all these information. I think that's a super easy way for our attendees to learn about your work. Could you just maybe mention the name or put it in the chat? I think that'd be super helpful. Thanks.
Please, can you repeat? The connection is very bad.
Okay, sorry. Could you in the chat put the name of your social media so that more people here that are on this call could follow you there, because it's a just fantastic work that you're doing, and we would like to highlight that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so by now you all should be very excited about Youth Fusion, and you're hopefully asking, how can I join? What can I do? How can I get involved? So for all of you who are wondering these questions, Michaela's here to take you through that.
Hello, everybody. So I'm just going to take a few seconds to share my screen. There we go. So everyone, I hope you can see it. So now Arthur and I are just going to take you through a little bit of the logistic side of things. I think we're not going to be as inspiring as the rest of the speakers here today, but hopefully we'll help you understand a little bit more about how to get involved and how to sign up for various things, and also let you know about our ongoing projects. So without further ado, I'll let Arthur explain this slide on some of Youth Fusion's ongoing projects that we're working very, very hard on, and hopefully you can also be part of too. So Arthur, you can explain away.
Okay, so yeah, so as I said earlier, it's not only just a fresh coat of paint. We've actually really started to push on creating content. And the idea behind that was the realization that we can't get people to meet physically, and through the internet we can reach well, our followers and the people that are interested in those type of issues, but also just generally a much broader audience. So we started with a podcast that we called the Nuclear Fireside Chat, which is an attempt at a very straightforward discussion with experts and professionals in the field. We're also aiming at having that intergenerational aspect covered in the podcast, where we can hear from diplomats and professionals in the field that have been working concretely with the nuclear fireside. And then to echo a bit what what Tony mentioned earlier. Like it is, I think we can learn. There is a cross-generational. There is value in cross-generational discussions, and so this is how we try to reach that. The newsletter is a very nice monthly or bi-monthly subscription that is absolutely free, and you just join it and keep track of what we're doing and what's coming out. We also really believe that it is important not only for us to write articles and content, but also give the opportunity to our followers to submit some of the content. And we really hope that this is an opportunity that you guys will use, because it is very important to hear as many different opinions and many different perspectives. And this is also what we're trying to do now with involving as many people as possible. And then the blog as well, which is maybe a more informal version of the articles that we hope to achieve. So, and that will also be to a certain extent open for everyone to publish in. And yeah, so those are the ongoing projects and things that you should look out in the future.
Great. Thank you so much, Arthur, for sharing that slide with us. And then I'll also just mention quickly, there's a lot of text on the slide. You don't have to read it all. You can also find all this information on our website as well. But we also help out with the Basel Conference and PC Plus Award. And this year we'll be doing it as well. Where Youth Fusion is a partner with the Basel Peace Office, which supports the youth advancing peace, climate protection, and especially likes to connect these larger issues with nuclear disarmament, taking a very intersectional approach. And basically Youth Fusion helps to coordinate and review the nominations to identify some of the finalists for this award. So that's a very exciting project that we take part in. And also we're part of the hashtag We the Peoples 2020, which is a coalition of civil society organizations. And we have over 100 different partners where we really want to try and bring together as many organizations and individuals as possible to promote the UN and the SDGs. And this event also runs from the 21st of September, which is the International Day of Peace. And it goes all the way to October 2nd to the International Day of Nonviolence. And this is a very special week because it has lots of different special international UN days that we want to really highlight and bring attention to. And there's lots of events that all the different organizations take part in. And it's a really great week to be part of. And Youth Fusion also is a partner to that. And then also, a really exciting thing that we do as well as Youth Fusion is take part in the non-proliferation treaty, where we physically go and we send delegates to sort of represent Youth Fusion there and physically witness what happens at that at the NPT conference, which is sort of seeing this happen in live action, which is very exciting. So that's it for that. And you can also read more about this again on our website. And how can you get involved? You have to sign up, as Arthur showed you. I will just go to the sign up page. So right over here on Join Us, it's also on our homepage. There are 3 different ways to sign up. So if you're sort of not in the youth cohort anymore, then you can click this subscribe to news over here, where you can just receive our newsletter. But then if you're in the youth bracket and under 35, then you can become a member and you'll also receive the newsletter, but you'll also get additional information on how to get involved, which is what we want you to do. And then also, if you're an organization, there's also the option to join as an organization. So just to make it loud and clear again, the Join Us on our website, this is where you do it. And then wrong way to slide, then back to PowerPoint. Yes, and lastly, Here are all of our social media accounts. We have a Facebook, which is still under the Abolition 2000 Youth Network name because we've had some issues changing it, but that will be changed quickly. But for now, you can find it here. Then we have our Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube and website. So I guess I'll be posting this on our Facebook, so you can really see it there and find us on all the platforms that you use. But again, on the website, there are links to all of these different platforms. So you can just visit our website and find it there. So I guess that was our bit. So I will stop the screen share and then pass it back to Vanda.
Thank you, Arthur and Michaela, for taking us through the programs and how to join. So we're slowly coming towards the end of today's event, but we still have some very exciting information for you in store. So we keep saying that Youth Fusion wants to keep you informed and engaged, right? And in this last and final panel, we will try to do these promises some justice, and we'll take a look at what's going on in the world and how to get involved in these projects right away. So I'm actually just gonna give the floor back to Michaela, who's gonna take us through the easiest way to get involved, and that's social media.
Right, so I don't have them all open here, but I'll go to the website. And you can see here we have my internet. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Oh, hold on 2 minutes. There we go. So as you can see over here, we have our Facebook, where you can keep up with our events. You can see we're live streaming there. We will live stream all our events as well to this page. And this is just to keep, this is where we'll be posting our events as and any sort of ongoings that we have happening. And then we have our Twitter that we just made last week. So it's very new. So, but we have been posting a promotion of this event, and we've had a few retweets as well. So you can keep us, keep tabs on us there as well, and also retweet us if you feel like it. And then we have our Instagram, where we also basically show the same content, but we also we try to be a bit more interactive here with our stories to engage with you and hear you out. And also, if you have if your organization or as an individual, if you have anything to say, you can tag us and we'll also share the story. And then, as Arthur said as well, we have YouTube, but we haven't gotten around to making any content yet. So that's that. But yeah, those are all our platforms, and we more or less post a lot of the same content on all of them, although it might vary a bit. And obviously all social media platforms have their own dynamic. But we're just trying to, get as many people involved as possible. So trying to cover all the platforms.
Right, thank you. Yeah, the idea here really was that, not all of us are on Facebook, not all of us are on Instagram. So the idea is to really get everyone involved and to leave no one behind. We're a global network, and we're really trying to make this platform accessible to everyone, anywhere and everywhere. Perfect. So now I'd like to invite our coordinator, Christoph from Germany, who will share a bit about what's happening in the human rights section around the world. Christoph, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm really sorry, my neighbor started a demolition project today in the morning, so I hope you can hear me all very well. If not, you can just interfere. Yes, my name is Christoph, and I briefly want to talk about one project I'm working on at the moment. 72 years ago, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Therefore, the 10th of December, so today, is the Human Rights Day. And the relations between human rights on the one side and nuclear disarmament on the other side are closer than you might think. In 2018, the UN Human Rights Committee adopted General Comment number 36, which concludes that the threat or use of nuclear weapons violates the right to live, so one of the most fundamental and basic and important human rights. In addition to that, the UN Human Rights Committee stresses the importance of active engagement by civil society organizations. Therefore, I currently work on a follow-up project which researches and drafts submissions for the periodic review process of the committee. The aim is to benefit from the broader approach to nuclear disarmament that the human rights framework provides in comparison to the usual hard political security debates. So this is very briefly one example for a project, how to engage and how to connect nuclear disarmament and human rights and really become active in the 21st century.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christoph. And for those of you specifically interested in the human rights approach, we have an amazing speaker, Ariana, for tomorrow's session, who will touch upon this and even go more into depth. So I would strongly encourage you all to give us a listen then too. Our next speaker is the only non-youth speaker for this session, but nevertheless, we're very excited to have him here. His name is Alan Ware, also a name that doesn't really need an introduction in this field. So yeah, Alan, give it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Congratulations to the youth team who's pulled together the Youth Fusion platform and this event and the event tomorrow, and the projects and information and engagement is really, really exciting. So I'm the director of the Basel Peace Office and the coordinator of parliamentarians for nuclear non-proliferation and disarmament, and also on the coordinating committee with Tony of Abolition 2000. So I'm been providing some background support for this initiative. I just had two things to mention today, and one of those is that the Basel Peace Office, as well as supporting Youth Fusion, also has an award for youth actions in this area. It's called the PACE Award, which is the Peace and Climate Action of European Youth Award, and January this year was the first award. And that was a one prize of €5,000 for an enterprising youth project. And then next year, January again, is when we make the award during the time of the Basel Peace Forum. It'll be PACE Plus. So as well as having one award for a European youth project that is looking at peace, nuclear disarmament, climate, human rights, sustainable development, you know, the connections that we've been talking about today. There'll also be a second award, which is also a first prize, so two first prizes, they'll be equal, for a project from outside of Europe. So we encourage you, if you've got a project that you think highlights, you know, these issues and is effective in engaging youth, to submit it for the PACE Award. It could either be an ongoing project or one that's still in development. And the deadline for the nominations and applications is December the 29th. And I'll put in the chat session just after this that award. This is not the only youth award that we're engaged with. Another one that we're engaged with Amnesty International in New Zealand, which the ceremony is just finishing round about now, is a legacy award on a New Zealand youth human rights project. And that again, you know, was open for the connections between human rights and nuclear disarmament, although it wasn't a nuclear disarmament initiative that won the award this year. So we'll also have information on, you know, that legacy award later for those who might be interested for next year, information in the newsletter, for example. And we'll, you know, the Youth Fusion will post information about these opportunities for youth in the various awards that are related to these issues. So thank you very much, and well done for a wonderful launch for this Youth Fusion platform.
Thanks, Alan. So finally, last but so not the least, we have a representative of our friends at World Future Council Youth present, Annika, who will introduce the program, the network, and tell you how to get involved. Annika, the floor is yours.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Annika. Thanks so much, Vanda. And as you said, I work at the World Future Council as Junior Program Manager, and I've also been co-responsible for establishing our youth forum, which is called Youth Present. By the way, it doesn't matter if you say Youth Present or Youth Present, it really does work both ways. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation today to speak to you and to have the chance to introduce Youth Present to you. Also, a huge congratulations to the Youth Fusion team. I know you've spent a lot of time on this, so congratulations on your exciting launch today. Your website also looks fantastic, and it has been very inspirational listening to all of the speakers today, really. So yeah, moving forward, I think now in order to introduce Youth Present, I'll have to give a bit of a background about our foundation. So the World Future Council is a foundation based in Germany, and it works to pass on a healthy and sustainable planet with just and peaceful societies to our children and grandchildren. Primarily, we do this by identifying, developing, highlighting, and spreading effective and future just policies for all of the challenges that humanity is facing. We all know there are more than enough, and we also promote the implementation of these policies worldwide. What makes us really unique on the world stage is our council, and that consists of up to 50 eminent global change makers of, you name it, governments, parliaments, civil societies, academia, the arts, and the business world. And if you take a look at our website, you might see a few names that you recognize. So that council then identifies current urgent themes, and it also determines the agenda for our work. Another part of the work of our foundation is the Future Policy Award, which we award annually. And that always focuses on the most sustainable policies on current issues. Last year, for example, we focused on youth empowerment and youth participation. And that's one reason, but not the only reason, why the World Future Council recognizes the increased need for youth participation globally. And that's why we then introduced Youth Present, our youth forum, in order to tackle this and kind of remedy this lack of genuine representation. Now, with this forum, which we are really in the early stages of, we seek to kind of get young people together to tackle our challenges together and to discuss innovative solutions. And really, most importantly, to provide a platform for young people to come together and be part of decision-making structures, because that's one of the huge issues that are currently still wanting. We've also just had our launch event in October and are currently looking for members. So we're looking for people from 8 to 25 years. So this is a great opportunity also to get the word out. Youth Present, as I said, it's about getting people together to enter into this intergenerational dialogues, but it's also about providing this platform to amplify their ideas and solutions on the 4 sort of big themes that the World Future Council is working on. And that's climate and energy, the rights of children and youth, biodiversity, but also peace and disarmament. And that's where the connect is between Youth Present and Youth Fusion. For example, even before there was Youth Present and before Youth Fusion was sort of renamed and relaunched, there has been cooperation between the World Future Council and the Abolition 2000 Working Group, in particular on the Move Nuclear Weapons Money campaign. So to sum up, there is quite a lot of history between the World Future Council, between Youth Present and Youth Fusion, but there's also a future potential to work together. And that's why I'm very excited to be able to speak to you today. The special element at Youth Present is really that its representatives can make choices themselves as to what they want to focus on. And we hope that peace and disarmament is one of the issues that we're going to discuss in that context, because youth empowerment and youth engagement is really at the heart of our forum. I'll post the link to our website and our launch event also in the chat box, as well as our social media channels. So I'll encourage you to check that all out. And yeah, it's really good to be here today with you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via email. I also left that in the chat box, or post your questions in the Q&A function. Thank you, everyone, and take care.
Thank you so much, Annika. Thank you for speaking about Youth President. We're really excited about this friendship between the two networks and any possible cooperation. So this has brought our final panel to the close. In the last couple of minutes, I would just like to say a big, massive thank you to everyone who stayed till the end, to everyone watching on Facebook, to everyone who is now watching this in the future from a recording. We all know that there are so many webinars now, and we all know that each minute of every day you have at least 10 webinars to choose from that you could sit on. So we're incredibly grateful that you're choosing to be here with us now. We've asked you in the chat to tell us where you're all from. We've had participants from Germany and the Netherlands and New Zealand and Mongolia and Sri Lanka, and truly all over the world, which is very exciting. And it's been an absolute pleasure to launch Youth Fusion with you all. So our event's at the end, but our work is just getting started. So I'd again like to invite you all to head over to our website, to join our newsletter, become a member, and just get in touch on your favorite social media platform. There's nothing more easier than that. We're always looking for a new collaboration, cooperation with anyone on the issues that truly matter to us. We cannot wait to see you all soon. Happy Human Rights Day. And just a final thought that I'd like to leave you with. This was, we keep mentioning that we're a global network. That is also why this launch event has 2 sessions, so that we'd cover all the time zones and really anyone from anywhere could get involved. This was session 1 aimed at the Asia and Pacific regions, and of course Europe as well. Tomorrow we will host session 2, which will be suited for the Americas and Western Europe as well. That'll be at 5:30 p.m. Central European time. More information about our amazing list of speakers and what we'll be doing tomorrow we can find on our social media. So we'd just like to see you there. That's it from me. If you have any questions, comment, DM us. There's many ways to get in touch. On the website there's also a contact form if you'd prefer that. And yeah, stay safe everyone, and we're hoping to see you soon, whether it's in person or online. And thank you again for joining us today. Wonderful. Bye everyone.